for another episode of Popcorn and Parachute Pants, a podcast where we discuss the very best of movies of the 1980s. And now, here are your hosts, Mr. Fingaz and Nick Rosario.
And hello there, boys and girls. Hope everybody's doing well. It's your guys, Nick and Mr. Fingaz, and we're back yet again with another episode of Popcorn and Parachute Pants, a podcast dedicated to the best, the absolute best of 80s cinema and some of the eclectic, crazy stuff that you may have forgotten about. I'm here with my co-host, the one and only Mr. Nick Rosario. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm doing just fine.
Just fine.
It's a beautiful day.
Doing just fine, like Boys to Men in 2008.
That's right.
Whenever it was they recorded that one. I got it.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I got a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
How old were you on July 27, 1984?
That would make me 11 years old, my friend.
11 years old,
11
sir.
years old.
I was just a mere month past my 14th birthday. I just graduated from middle school.
Sure.
And that's a date that will forever live in cinematic and music history.
Why
agree. Is that, you say? I'm glad you all asked. Why? Because that was the date of release of one of what is known as America's greatest musical cinematic movies to this day. And that would be the one and only Purple Rain, starring none other than Mr. Prince Rogers Nelson himself. How many of you all knew he had a full name? Right.
What's your name, son? What's your name?
Dude, this was a movie everybody was waiting for. This was the movie that put Prince on the map, and we'll get more into that and everything like that. But this was a movie that was very highly anticipated because at that point there had been like concert documentaries and things of that nature, and maybe a couple of other movies, something along those lines, but nothing quite like this. Right. And of course, as we mentioned, it starred the late Prince, and this was the movie that put him on the map. So I'm going to let you kind of give us a synopsis of the plot, sir, and then we'll get into it.
Oh, well, okay, let's do this then. Prince plays a character named The Kid, who is a struggling Minnesota artist, as it were, who plays the local clubs with his band, trying to make it big. He's got problems at home, obviously, with mom and dad. They're kind of a strange couple. You find out through the movie just how strange the kind of the dad is, and the struggling mom with the whole thing. And it really just, to be honest with you, and again, as far as movies as go that are based around music and that sort of thing, the reason, and I agree with Anthony in this regard, is that the music is Prince's. And so the music, they literally took his songs and wrote a story around it. And it's very evident when you watch the movie that that's exactly what they did. In a lot of instances, you'll have the movie first, and then you'll have the music. But they literally took Prince's existing songs and wrote a movie around it. Because every scene where he performs, just before that, something happened that results in that song being played. So that's why I say they literally wrote this screenplay around Prince's music, which is not something you see very often. And because I think that they did that, a lot of people criticize this movie. It's just, it's just a Prince vanity film. But if you think about it, here's a guy with no acting skill whatsoever, just a brilliant musician, right? He's got all his friends in this movie. He's got his group, The Revolution. You got, his biggest rival is Morris Day and the Time, which in real life he's really good friends with, and he's produced all their stuff. The love interest, the one actress, or the one person who had acting experience, of course, is his love interest, played by Apollonia Cotero, and his parents. His dad was played by Clarence Williams III, who, from Mod Squad and all that sort of stuff. And Olga Colados played his mom, who had been one of those lady actresses you see around in movies here and there and TV shows and all that. She was a veteran actress. But they play very well around him. See, that's the thing, is that I even remember that Clarence Williams was actually in consideration for a Best Supporting Actor nomination for the Oscars for his performance in this movie. because that's how intense and how good it is for the short time he's on screen. And I think that's why this movie actually really works in the context of being a music about Prince and his music. You really do get a sense of how crappy his home life is, how crappy the family life is, which then of course bleeds over into the relationship he has with everyone. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder because he's pretty much protecting himself and he's looking out for number one, which a lot of people do. But it lets you see why. And again, I personally, when I first saw this movie, I was probably 12. I don't think I caught it right away, like you said, when it came out at the theater, because it was a rated R movie, and I was only 11. So I believe when it came out on home video the next year is when I finally saw it. So sometime in '85. But I knew the music because the very first. This is a trivia for people who know me. The very first cassette tape I bought with my own money was Purple Rain because the soundtrack to the movie had come out. So I did manage to do that. So I knew the music thoroughly, which is probably still some of my favorite Prince music. But that's kind of a synopsis of the story. It goes all the way through, and you learn about his life, the ups and downs, the trials, the girlfriend in and out. Do they make it? Do they not make it? What's the rivalry with Morris Day and the time? And everybody else in his life, the parents, how that's resolved. So there's a lot in this movie, and I know we're going to break it down. So I will hand it back over to my main man, Mr. Fingers, and we'll get going here on Purple Rain.
Yeah, this was a movie that amongst my peers was viewed with a ton of anticipation. The only other, but this was all the way across the board. There were another couple of movies that came out that kids wanted to go see. Crush Groove, Beat Street, and Breaking, because that was a huge thing back then. Yeah. And Crush Groove, of course, we know starred just about everybody that was on the Def Jam label, and Sheila E., Blair Underwood, the Fat Boys, New Edition.
Yeah. LL Cool J.
LL Cool J. I mean, you name it, they were in it. Russell Simmons was in it. And then, of course, Beat Street and Breaking, because breakdancing was ginormous at that time. It was exploding all around the world. Yeah. But I think Purple Rain was more universal because everybody wasn't people might have liked the rap music. They weren't necessarily into the rap culture.
It was just breaking, right? Yeah.
Right. It was just breakdancing. But when Purple Rain came out, that was so ridiculously universal. I mean, Prince had actually dropped the 1999 album, came out in like 19
end of 81, 82.
No, I think it was originally released in like 77, 78, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
I will definitely look that up and have an answer for you here shortly. But what wound up happening was it was still really, really big. Oh, wow. It was released in 1982. You're absolutely correct.
Because Little Red Corvette was an 83 release, and that was a pretty big hit that year.
Yeah, you're right. I thought it was really. You know what? I'm thinking about his first.
Controversy.
Controversy, Dirty Mind, and all of that
Dirty Mind,
stuff.
I want to be your lover.
Lover.
Yeah, exactly.
So he was already universally loved amongst lovers of art. I'll say it. Black folks loved them some Prince.
Right, okay? They did. Let's be honest.
But Purple Rain came out, and Purple Rain was the first album that he put out that was a lot more universal, I think. Yeah. And then the theatrical release, everybody went to see it because people knew who Prince was. It's absolutely huge. There were more women walking around with the little twisty with the thing hanging out in front of their eyes and talking with their hands over. The guys were wearing jerry curls and talking with their hands over their mouth.
Yeah.
Would you like some pancakes? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, exactly.
That sort of thing. But this movie in itself as a film was not one that anybody went to expecting any big acting. Like they weren't expecting Academy Award winning performances out of people. People just wanted to go see Prince. And it also put the time on the map.
Yeah, for sure.
Apollonia 6 did not fare as well. They basically just had that one song.
And this is the first hit record.
Yeah, they did get a hit record out of it, Sex Shooter.
Sex Shooter.
Contrary to popular belief, Apollonia and Prince did not date. She was married. She just took the film role. But of course, the Hollywood rumor mill being what it was. While he and Vanity did actually date, he and Apollonia did not. But I mean, it had everything. It didn't, what it lacked in acting ability, it made up for by the music. The musical scenes were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Bar none, the show stealer was Morris Day in the time doing the bird. Hands down, hands down.
Oh, is that your favorite musical sequence?
That is my favorite musical sequence. I mean, I know there's two songs that I know the entire dance routine to, and that's If It Isn't Love by New Edition.
Yeah, sure.
And the Bird by Morris Day in the time.
Bird by Morris
I
Day
just
in the
haven't
time.
figured out how they did that slide like 8 feet across the stage.
Oh, sure. Well, you could trick that, right? I'm sure that was a little help.
You could, a little trick cinematography, but cinephotography, whatever it is. Film it. They did some trick filming.
That's right.
They had some trick cameras, but it was just, and you couldn't go anywhere for 2-3 years without hearing somebody had the Purple Rain soundtrack. Either Purple Rain or The Bird or Jungle Love or even Sex Shooter.
Sex Shooter,
yeah. You had to buy you had to buy 3 tapes in order to get the full movie soundtrack. Like, this is the first major musical movie where you had to buy 3 records to get all the stuff, because it wasn't all on one CD. CDs didn't even exist back then. But my point, I digress.
All Prince music.
Yeah, and
all the Prince songs from the movie.
Yeah, and that was the movie that made him, and his golden moment for sure was definitely the end of the film with Purple Rain.
Well, yeah, for those, again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, it came out in 1984.
Should have seen it by now. You're a little late.
Right. So, well, let's start a little bit more at the beginning. We're going to get to that because that is a pivotal scene, obviously. But it opens up. He's doing "Let's Go Crazy" is the first song you see. He's performing on stage at this club. What is it, First Avenue or whatever? I think it's called. So you get a sense of, okay, he's got his little rock band. He comes off stage, and the club owner's kind of giving him crap about what's this one song stuff, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. So you kind of get an introduction into who Kid is. Apollonia comes in for a job to this club. And he sees the card with their name, and he's all, who's that? Wants to know who it is. So that he starts the falling in love process, as it were. Blah blah blah. So I mean, because again, a lot of this is going to be formulaic, and you'll get it right away. Like I said, they didn't rewrite the wheel with this movie, but I'm telling you, the musical performances themselves and the acting by Clarence Williams and Olga Carlatos are phenomenal. Right. So you go through the whole thing, you get the whole song catalog. You get Morris Day, who's his rival, who starts to fall for Apollonia as well. So now you've got the internal struggle of Morris wants to make her a star. The Kid doesn't like it because that's his girlfriend and that's the woman. He's got the example of how his father treats women.
Wait. Right? Make her a star.
Make her a star. Right? Make her the star because, she's a singer, right? She's an actress and a singer. So how to make her a star. So, yeah. So that's how the movie kind of gets its flow and gets started. But it brings me to my favorite musical number. I think just because I think the song is beautiful, and it's actually called "The Beautiful Ones." And Prince, literally, for the 5 minutes doing this song, he's singing it directly to her and Morris, who are sitting at a table in the club. And Kid sees this and just goes nuts because, again, if you know the lyrics of the song, he talks about the beautiful ones. Smash pick, it's all metaphors. Smash the pictures, break your heart, the whole thing. It's all in metaphors here, but he talks about it. And he sings towards the end. He starts to get the crescendo comes, and he literally just shouts out, "Do you want him or do you want me? Because I want you." Apollonia starts crying. Prince thinks he's an a-hole for doing that. But I'm telling you, as far as dynamics and the scene itself, it's a pretty powerful scene. And Prince, of course, is at his best when he does this, which is the whole thing. See, this is the whole thing. I don't think people really realize how much music can carry acting. Like, Prince is not an actor. We know that.
Mm-mm.
But the scenes where he's on stage yeah, right. The scenes where he had to act were really bad, and it's fine. But when he's on stage emoting and doing his thing, that's just as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, The Beautiful Ones is just one example. And then the end of the movie is another example. Because as you said, the acting, like when he tries to look for his father, when he comes home and he cries, he's like, "Where you at? Where you at?" answer
Right.
me, answer me, mother. You're like, all
Yeah.
right, Prince, relax, buddy.
The
You're not
best
fooling anybody.
Look,
This
the
is again,
best acting scene he had in the entire movie was first you must purify yourself in the
yeah,
waters of Lake Minnetonka.
right. Which is a line that everybody knows. Like, if you can't go when plus thanks to Dave Chappelle, everybody knows purify yourself in the water of Lake Minnetonka. But yeah, that was a line I would recite to everybody for years. I would always, if somebody would say something, I'd be like, "Well, why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?" And they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, you never saw Purple Rain? What do you mean? What am I talking about? You should go purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka." What are you? So yeah, it's just one of those things where you just sit there and just it's hilarious though. But no, and I think like I said, central to the plot, Mr. Fingers, I think you'll agree, man. The music is what really carries this movie. The emotion that comes across in all the songs with the different scenes, like I said, that they go with, because even
Hmm.
Sex Shooter, even she because she gives they give Prince a ticket to come to this show so he could see Apollonia and her new group sing. And you
Hmm.
can see the look on his face as she's up there doing her thing, and she's looking right at him too, shaking and gyrating and singing the song. He knows he messed up, and he knows he all he had to do was help this girl, and it probably would have been fine. But he was too busy with his own junk, and he didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, and matter of fact, the whole thing that led to that, it kind of was like that scene was kind of like a clapback because remember before he did Darling Nikki, and
Yes,
she saw it and she
yes,
went bawling out of the club because
exactly.
she knew that was a dig at her. And so
Yes,
she comes back and claps. She's like, okay, so what do you think about this? And hits
right,
it with Sex Shooter. And
exactly.
so,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The music really does forward the story here. It isn't just Prince playing in a club. All these songs mean something to the whole scope of the story, and that's what I
mhm,
really, as I said, You can tell they wrote the story around the songs to make it all fit. But I think they did a pretty good job with it because again, when he's on stage, there's nobody better than Prince, especially at this juncture in his career. I don't think
yeah,
there was too many more people better than him at putting on a performance. I mean, the guy was just great, and
no,
it comes across in these scenes in the movie.
pretty much pretty much from there all the way up until the time he died. Do you remember his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, I do remember him getting inducted. I didn't see it.
There
I
is a
do.
video that you have to see, my friend. It's
Well, is
him.
it the guitar one?
Yes, while my
Yeah.
guitar
No, I've
gently
seen
weeps.
I've seen that. Now that
Yeah.
is see, this is why I argue, and I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off. My
Oh, go ahead.
apologies. But my thing with that is that's to people who didn't think that Prince was a great musician. This was a guy who played 20 instruments. This was a guy who actually was probably one of the better guitarists of his generation, but you wouldn't know it because people wouldn't talk about him in that context. So yeah, I'm with you. If you ever wanted to see musicianship, watch that video and watch Prince do like a 5 minute solo at the end of that
Yes.
song. And think about it, he's on stage
With
with
some of the
with
best
Tom Petty,
guitarists
right, with
ever.
Tom Petty,
Eric
Jeff
Clapton.
Lynne, Danny Harrison, Eric Clapton, right? George's boy Danny Harrison. Like he's on stage with heavyweights, and he literally just takes over the song at the end and does this long guitar solo that is just phenomenal. So yeah,
And
I
then
definitely check that out.
the cherry on the cake
Well, go ahead. You give him
unstraps his
that.
guitar,
Yeah.
just heaves it and walks off. Like, and somebody is there, I guess they were expecting it. They just like, gotcha, Prince, and they just walk, like he
Yeah,
just walks off the stage.
that's all he did.
That
You know,
that's 100% Prince. And one thing a lot of people don't know about Prince because most people know Prince from Purple Rain, and of course, then his star was on the rise with Kiss and everything else behind that. But
yeah, he did do a couple more films, unfortunately.
yeah,
They were not good, but
Under the Cherry
a Cherry
Moon,
Moon, that was so bad.
yeah, that one should have.
And then Graffiti Bridge was not much better.
Yeah, to the record store. What's the record store?
Yeah, yeah. Again, I mean, he did do the concert movie. Sign of the Times but that was a concert movie.
Right.
That was great, but his other attempts at acting did not go so well.
Yes. And one
Let's just
thing
put it
that
that way.
a lot of people really didn't get on board with Prince until Purple Rain, but
Yeah,
if you look at the liner notes from some of his earlier records,
yeah.
he played almost all of the
Oh, he did.
instruments and did
Yeah,
most of the background vocals on his earlier albums. Like he
yeah.
he did in the late 70s what Stevie Wonder had already been doing, because Stevie was doing that too.
Right.
And it's just a uber ultra phenomenally talented musician who finally got a chance to showcase his talents on the big screen, and it paid big dividends for him. And yeah, the funny thing is the First Avenue is actually a real club in Minneapolis. That is where they did kind of pay homage to the club, because that's where both he and
Morris Day got their starts.
Where they got their starts. As a matter of fact, he used to write a lot of their stuff before Jam and Lewis joined the group.
I think he wrote Jungle Love and he wrote The Bird, didn't he?
I don't know if that was him or if that was. I think those were Jam and Lewis. By that time, I think Jam and Lewis had taken over songwriting duties. But like some of their earlier stuff, like 777, 9311, and
I got
the walk with everybody, walk your body.
Right, exactly.
I'm having 80s flashbacks now. Don't get me started.
Yes,
but and if you don't know anything about the time, we're gonna leave Prince. We're gonna sit Prince down for a second. If you don't know anything about Morris Day and the Time, Morris Day and the Time was one of the baddest R&B funk bands out there during the 70s. Like, and they weren't just popular music artists. These guys could play, and they would jam, and like they would just go off on a jam session, and they'd have this thing they would do at the end of their concerts. I was so glad that Jimmy Jam mentioned it in the Janet Jackson documentary. They'd have this thing they do at the end of concerts where they would just jump up in the air and grab themselves as they jumped up as a band was coming to a climax.
Yeah.
Wow, there's the play on words there that I didn't intend, but
there you go.
They were phenomenal. Like, people didn't, just like a lot of people didn't know Prince before Purple Rain. A lot of people didn't know Morris Day and the Time before The Bird and Jungle Love. And
Jungle Love.
Yeah, so this was a movie. I think it was a perfect storm. I think Warner Brothers did they hit a home run with this one, and they did. I think they did an excellent job with it. And then, of course, you mentioned what can be said about the absolutely incredible Clarence Williams III.
Yeah.
Clarence Williams III is an actor that can kill a scene with 2 lines.
Yeah.
I mean, he can have a lot to say or very little to say. The classic actor, Mod Squad. One that you missed was Tales from the Hood. I don't know if you remember that
Tales
one.
from the Hood, yeah. Yeah. Oh. The shit.
The poopity pop.
Yeah,
it's in the coffins. Where else would I keep it? So, welcome to hell. Anyway, it's a great movie with a great ensemble musical cast, and even though the acting, like we said, left a lot to be desired, the chemistry between I think Prince and Morris Day had good fun.
Oh no, they did. You could
pretending to hate each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially
of course, the scene where they come back and Morris Day gets off the stage doing The Bird, and they come, and this was after part of the movie where Prince's dad had shot himself. Again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. Prince's dad comes to a thing where he had beat the mom senseless, and Prince finds his mother. And he finds his father with a gun in the house, and he shoots himself. And so this is right after that happened. Prince is supposed to go on and perform, so he's sitting in the green room. Morris Day and the Time, they start singing "Let's Go Crazy, Let's Get Nuts." They walk back to the hallway, and as they pass, they all stop and come back. And Morris leans in and goes, "How's the family?" And then they all walk back off. And it's one of those things, though. Like, again, sets up what's about to happen. And then you get Prince coming out and dedicating the song to his father, which was actually written, again, you've seen the movie, by Wendy and Lisa, who are the 2 female members of his band, whose music he never wanted to listen to, even though they would give him demos all the time for him to listen to. He would never. But this is a point in the movie where he decided he would listen, and he ended up finishing the song and dedicating it to his father, Francis L., played by Clarence Williams, who shot himself. So yeah, very poignant scene, but very, again, the musical performance is what does it, because when Prince comes out, and even that's a nice moment where he says, I want to dedicate this song to my father, Francis L., and it was written by Wendy and Lisa, blah blah. And that's a nice moment. He goes and gives Wendy a kiss on the cheek and goes back to the microphone to start the song. So just all of that. It just plays just great, like in terms of dramatic effect and the whole thing.
Yeah, the look on both their faces when they were like, "Wait, what?"
Well, yeah, you're playing a song? What do you
Is
mean?
playing one of our songs?
Yeah, exactly. Because right, because up to that point in the movie, it was all about him and his music. It was all about
Right.
Prince and the kid and his music and what he wanted and what he wanted to do. And so that's why you see the shift in him. And it's again, it's a great scene in the movie, and it's a great. It's probably that's probably what the last 25 minutes of the film, like 20 to 25 minutes of the movie is that.
Yeah,
Pretty much
yeah.
that all that sequence is all because obviously he does Purple Rain. The house comes down. Everybody's crying. You see Apollonia at the end of the thing crying too, and Prince is crying. Everybody's crying. Then they come. And then he comes back and does "Baby I'm a Star" and or "I Would Die for You"
I
and,
would die
and
for you,
"Baby
and
I'm a
baby, I'm a
Star."
star.
Yeah, which is how the movie ends on "Baby I'm a Star," which is a great song. But
That was
yeah,
also the point in which we were introduced to Prince's water gun guitar,
yes, shooting water off of the end of yes, exactly. Which
which
of
was
course, because in true Prince fashion, we all know was kind of
a euphemism.
symbolism, euphemism, whatever you call it for, you know what, as he has the guitar between his legs as he's shooting the water out of it. So yeah, just Prince being Prince.
Always, always, all day, every day, and
Right. Exactly.
man, that was the number of women that were heartbroken that Prince died.
Oh, I'm sure that was in the millions.
Because I mean, just the world stopped. Like
Yeah.
for them, the world stopped more than when Michael Jackson died, and you know how big that was. Because
Yeah.
Prince was that dude. I love the meme that says that it's a picture of Prince, and it says this is probably the only guy who could get away with having his hair done, wearing eyeliner and makeup and 6-inch heels, and still steal your girl.
Exactly. Because apparently that's what he would do.
It's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Right, exactly.
So
But well, let me ask you this, Anthony, Mr. Fingers. I'm sorry. I'm using your government name. I know.
either or, it's
Right.
fine.
What's your name, son? Can you just tell me your name? Tell me your name.
My
No,
name
but
is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask you, what is your favorite? I know what mine is. Well, I kind of gave it to you. I said beautiful ones, but what is your favorite musical performance in the film? Like, what do you?
Well, like I said, I've got to go with I out of the two in terms of artists. Prince is my favorite artist out of the two. They are very close. They're to me they're very close because they both came from the same roots. But that performance when they went out on stage and did the bird
Yeah.
and burn the stage down,
Yeah.
like just burn the stage down and just like thank you and
Oh
just
yeah.
walked
No.
off the stage.
Mic drop. Yeah, mic drop. Totally.
Total mic drop. If there was a mic drop performance, especially given the fact that Prince is supposed to be the headliner.
Right. Exactly.
They're
And
the
they
they're
got
the they're the feature. I think it was they had the opener. I guess Apollonia was the opener. They were the feature, and he was Prince is the headliner. So you mean to tell me your feature is going to outperform you?
yeah.
I mean, they laid it down, and that performance became so classic. It just basically became part of the part of their set list. Like
Yeah.
no matter how long they tour, they will never
Yeah.
not be able to perform the bird ever.
And I'm sure Jungle Love either.
True.
Like those are probably two songs they have to do because, and again, I know that's what they're most recognized for, but it's also the two songs that people, again, they appeared in the movie, and so everybody associates that with Prince and Purple Rain as those two songs, which is amazing in itself because if you look at the 9 songs that Prince did for the movie, just in that sense of his, you have "Let's Go Crazy" that starts the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then during the interlude with Lake Minnetonka with him and Apollonia, they play "Take Me With You,"
Mm-hmm.
which is the duet he does with her. Then back in the bar, he does "Beautiful Ones." That's one scene. Then he comes back with "Computer Blue" and "Darling Nikki," where again chases her out of the club. She's crying. And then during a scene where he finds his mom, they play "When Doves Cry," and it's kind of a montage of different things. Him and Apollonia, blah 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 blah, all that. And then you get to the end with the final 3 songs Purple Rain, then the little break, then he comes back on stage to do I Would Die for You and Baby I'm a Star. Any one of those songs that you take from that uh, could be a number one hit anywhere. I don't. They all weren't, but I'm just saying you could easily, had they all been released at a different time, could have been number one song. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
just phenomenal the musicianship of this guy. And what I found interesting, this is what I heard. So maybe you can corroborate this for me. He actually, again, because he played all the instruments and, like you said, sang a lot of the background. He actually only hired the Revolution to be the background bag to go on tour. Like they actually didn't really play a lot on the actual album. He did. And that he just hired them. They became the Revolution after that.
Mm-hmm.
They appeared in the movie as well as his band, but that they became his band for touring. And then that's who they were Prince and the Revolution. And then
Right.
they went on the Purple Rain tour, of course, which went on for 2 years. Made tons of 7 dates here in Chicago. I'll never forget this because it was originally only 4. He sells out the first 4. So imagine that. He's already sold out 4 shows here in Chicago. They add a 5th one. That goes within an hour. They add a 6th one. That goes within an hour.
And you're
They
talking
added they added a
talking about the days before you could buy tickets online.
exactly. You had to wait in line and I can tell you a story about me waiting in line for some tickets another time. But you had to wait in line for tickets. And then the 7th show they added was the only one that didn't sell out. But it still was major capacity for that show. He did 7 straight shows here in Chicago during that Purple Rain tour. That's
Jesus.
amazing. Yeah.
Can
And it
you
only was supposed to be 4.
could you imagine the how tired he had to be by the time he got back off that tour?
Oh, well, sure. That was 2 years. Like, that was probably, you figure, with making the movie, promotion, the movie coming out, then jumping on the tour, that's 3 or 4 years of nonstop doing whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously the album had to be made as well. So, yeah, you're talking 3 or 4 years where he probably didn't have a day off. He was always
Yeah.
doing something tied to the music or the film or whatever. So, yeah, I
And
bet
then on top of that, while he was touring, he was also recording his follow-up album Around the World in a Day.
around
The
the
one
world
that
in a
had
day, right?
Raspberry Beret, and I think
Correct.
America was on that one also.
America, Raspberry Beret, Pop Life was a song on that album. That was one of my
Yes.
favorite. There was a song called America on it. It was just called America. That was actually very, you know what? And again, I know we're talking Prince, but as far as albums go, like I could put on those 2 albums, I
Mm-hmm.
could put on and listen from beginning to end without any problem.
No skips.
Yeah, absolutely none. From Purple Rain to Around the World in a Day. I could put on both of those and just Paisley Park is a beautiful song if you've never heard it. I encourage all of you, if you get a chance, find the Around the World in a Day album or whatever, and look up Paisley Park. It's a song, beautiful song. But yeah,
Which was the name of his
and became the name of where he lived in his recording
his
studio and all
mansion
the
and
way.
his recording
Right.
studio. Yep.
Paisley Park. But yeah, great song, great album. And again, it just speaks to Prince musicianship. The guy was just a genius. I know people throw that word around, but he really was. This guy knew he knew his audience. He put out great music, and he just, the guy was just incredible.
Just as a testament to his greatness, as of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
the Purple Rain, the album,
Mm-hmm.
finished ranked number 9 amongst U.S. soundtrack albums in 2020.
Look at that. Mm-hmm. That movie came out 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. That was 36 years of that soundtrack, and it's number 9 all time.
Right. The year that he passed, the album finished ranked number 5 in Australia, 7 in Canada, 4th in the UK, 2nd in the US Billboard 200, and 1st on soundtrack albums.
Wow.
And that was in 2016.
Yeah.
You're talking 20 wow. Yeah, 32 years. 32 years afterwards.
Yeah.
He still finished number 1 in number 2 in the USA that year. The year it was released, it was number 1 in Australia, Canada, Holland, the United States, and Zimbabwe. It was
Oh,
number 8 in Austria, number 8 in France, number 5 in Germany, 12 in Japan, 2nd in New Zealand, 4th in Norway, 3rd in Switzerland.
wow.
I'm sorry, 3rd in Sweden, and 7th in Switzerland, and 7th in the UK.
There you go.
And the only reason the Europeans, I mean, the 80s was really big for European music.
Well, they had their music, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s were absolutely huge for European music. So it was kind of hard to.
They gave us a lot of that synth pop, synth rock, a lot of that stuff.
I mean, they get the Eurythmics.
Yeah.
Loved them. Anyway, not to get off the beaten path. But then on top of that, when you look at the movie, the movie was nominated for Best Original Song Score, which it won. Won for Best Soundtrack and Cast Recording. It won for Best Album Original Score written for a motion picture or TV special.
Yep.
Let's see. That was the Academy Awards. The one for the Best Soundtrack was the Brit Awards.
You won Grammys too for that, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the Grammys. Best Album or Original Score for Motion Picture. That was a Grammy. NAACP Image Awards. Prince won Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture.
That's kind of funny, but all right.
But hey, look. It just goes to show you how powerful that movie was.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It was inducted into the National Film Preservation Board Film Registry.
Yes.
It was inducted into the Online Film and Television Association Awards Hall of Fame. It won a World Soundtrack Award for major contributions to the art of film, music, and sound. That went to Prince and the Revolution. The Hall of Fame song was When Doves Cry. It also actually it did get nominated for a couple of Golden Raspberries.
Oh yeah, no, I told you the acting is bad in it, but yeah.
Worst New Star, Apollonia Cotero. Worst Original Song, Sex Shooter. It was also nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Original Song, When Doves Cry. It did not win. I don't know what actually won. Then also the American Film Institute was nominated for 100 Years, 100 Songs, and AFI's Greatest Movie Musicals.
Ah, yes.
So all of those accolades off that one movie. Right. Like Purple Rain is to musical film what Thriller was to just albums in itself.
Pop albums, right.
Pop albums. Sure. And it's absolutely, it's apparently he also bought the house where the kid lives right before he died.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, because that house had to be how old at that point?
God, it looked like it was probably a 20-something-year-old house when it was filmed in the 80s.
Well, easily. It was probably older than that, but yeah.
Yeah, so, wow, there actually was an African film that paid homage, which I cannot pronounce the actual. I'm gonna give this a shot here.
All right, here we go.
Akunak Tedalat Taha Tazugai, which translates as "Rain the color of blue with a little red in it." And it was a Nigerian. I know about this. I've seen snippets from this. It's really
okay.
I mean, I know what they were trying to do, but it's absolutely hilarious. The guy's got on a bad wig and he's riding on this motorcycle. And I mean, you can tell it's a Prince. It's a tribute to Prince.
Right.
But it's like Nigerian film. It's almost like how how Indian cinema does the superhero knockoffs.
Yes.
But I've seen this. Oh my God. I remember this. That is just how big and how globally reaching this movie is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, welcome to episode 3 of Popcorn and Parachute Pants. I'm Mr. Fingaz. That is Nick Rosario. We are talking Purple Rain today.
Purple Rain.
1984 release. Prince's probably his, without doubt, his biggest album.
Yeah.
His biggest album. Definitely his biggest film. We don't want to knock him, but Under the Cherry Moon was not. They actually tried to present him as an actor, and just with a little bit.
He had a lot of lines in, and you're just like, "Whoa, dude!" And you know what's funny about that movie? I don't think a lot of people know the female lead in that movie was Kristen Scott Thomas, later of English Patient fame and a very Academy Award-winning actress, but she was the love interest of Prince in Under the Cherry Moon. Kristen Scott Thomas is.
He writes.
And he had Jerome as his sidekick in the movie,
right?
Which was hilarious. Jerome,
right? Like
Oh my
anybody
God.
he could have picked. I mean, the two of them together
We're funny.
were
They
funny,
were
but the
funny, yeah.
movie
They're funny.
itself was.
Yeah, that was
Mm.
definitely a questionable pick, but hey, they were trying to beg off the success of Purple Rain, and they tried.
They
Did not work.
tried.
They
It's
tried.
like the Bart Simpson kick. At least you tried,
At
right
least,
before he goes in the
exactly. At
trash.
least you tried.
But I mean, I don't think, and I still think Prince would have been widely recognized and loved as a musician. But I think, okay, Stevie Wonder is widely loved and world renowned as a musician.
Yes.
But when it comes to tears, you got Michael all the way up here, and you got
Mhm.
Stevie somewhere here, right?
Okay.
I think Prince would have been along with Stevie,
Yeah.
but Purple Rain definitely propelled
Elevated
him,
him for sure.
elevated him way up above and beyond anything he could have thought of. And then
Well, I
it's
think. Go ahead. Sorry. Finish
no,
your
go ahead,
thoughts.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it's because of the style as well. If you look at the songs, you've got the rock song and Let's Go Crazy with the big guitar licks, right? You got
Hmm.
that. You've got the beautiful, like the piano on Beautiful Ones and those all
Yes.
the soft chords and melody until the end when he crescendos to the big yell.
Hmm.
Um, Look at Computer Blue and Darling Nikki. Just the musicianship on those songs.
Yes.
A lot, a lot of guitar, a lot of synth, a lot of overlays, a lot
Yeah.
of just well done production wise songs. Take Me With You is that cute duet with him and Apollonia. So you
Hmm.
have that. Like all these are different styles. Then he goes ballad with Purple Rain, like all the way. And
You got
again,
the
again,
ballad,
big guitars, the
and then
big
he's kind
power
of got the
guitar.
then
You
he's kind
know,
of got the ultimate, like, okay, and I Would Die for You.
yeah,
But I Would Die for You is definitely a little 80s pop bop if you go back and think about
right,
it.
exactly. And then Baby I'm a Star, kind of in the same vein.
Yeah,
But that's
and
what I'm
he
saying. Like, it's not just he played one style. Like, this guy had played all kinds of styles of music. This guy could do anything. That's why I say that's what amazes me more about this is that Purple Rain obviously will always go down being known for its music, and it should because you had a guy who was just phenomenal at making music, and that is what he did best. And it is fully on display here. Again, if you've never seen Purple Rain, or if you haven't seen it in years, I truly recommend you go back and give it a watch. Again, a lot of it is dated. You'll see, outfits and all that, and some of the references, whatever. But just for the musicianship alone, just the musical numbers alone, and there's 12 of them. Well, there's 12 songs. I think there's like 8, 9 musical numbers themselves. So
mhm.
just watch for that. Like, just totally give this another look. It's about an hour 45 to an hour 50 minutes as
Yeah.
well. So just take a look. But I recommend Purple Rain to you. It's an 80s classic. It's dear to my heart. It's one of my favorites. And I know Mr. Fingers kind of feels the same way.
Oh, absolutely. It's not, I will put it like this. It's not on my top 10 all-time favorite movies, but it is 100% my number one favorite musical movie.
Right. There you go. Exactly.
You
It's
know,
almost like a guilty pleasure in some sense.
yes.
Because the movie itself is not phenomenal. I would never say that. But to me, it's a personal favorite. And so that's why I say, yeah. Anytime it comes on TV or I see it, I'll stop. Put the remote down and watch for a little bit. Just to yeah. But yeah,
It's
definitely.
I mean, the sheer excitement, and I, like you, did not get to go to the theater to see it. We had to wait
Right.
till it came on
Yeah.
HBO,
Yeah.
and
I saw it on Betamax.
we do what was called a family viewing. That was a big event, man. Now that I think about it, it was me and my sister and my
Uh-huh.
parents.
Uh-huh.
It was my older cousin, like he was a second cousin,
Uh-huh.
my older cousin and his wife and his 3 kids, and my aunt and my uncle.
The-
My uncle had passed at that point, but we all had
oh,
dinner
okay.
at the house. And the whole purpose, of everybody coming over, was we were going to sit down and watch. It was the world premiere of Purple Rain on
Okay.
HBO.
All right. There you go. See? Family time, movie time.
Yeah, and we watched it with we watched. It was kind of awkward sitting there through the love scenes and the scene where
A little,
she peels
well,
off her top.
yes, there is a topless scene for you older people wanting your kids not to see that sort of thing. There is a topless scene where Apollonia purifies herself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Wait, that's not Lake Minnetonka.
Minnetonka.
Like she just
So,
took off her night. And the funny thing is, it's not like he tricked her. It's just they were
no.
standing by a body of water. And she was like, "Let's
Yeah,
go."
yeah, exactly.
She was like, Sean, let's go.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what happened.
Exactly. Oh man. I hate the one thing about Prince is I know that we all have to come to an end at some point. I mean, at some point, everybody will. Every life has a start point and an end point.
It does.
And I did one thing that I hate about him passing is that it wasn't like Prince had retired and hadn't made any music in a while.
Right.
Prince still had so much left in him to go with Michael also. Like with Whitney Houston, we kind of knew Whitney wasn't really going to do a whole lot more. She was going to pop up on an award show here or there or do something. But when Prince passed, it was like after Michael had passed and then Prince passed, it was kind of like, it was almost like closing the doors on that generational talent. Does that make sense?
I know, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Like, I think that whole I don't want to say trio, but that with Whitney dying, Michael dying, and then Prince dying, that was like outside of Madonna and maybe no, Madonna, that was the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Those are the kings and queens of the 80s. The only one left.
The only person not in that group would be Madonna, who was also very big in the 80s, but that was the 80s.
Yep.
Michael, Whitney, Prince, Madonna.
Yep.
Like that was MTV.
That was the top tier.
That was absolutely your 4 biggest selling artists, biggest hits, biggest everything. And 3 out of the 4 of them are gone. So it is like losing your my generation of 80s. It's gone. It really is. Like I took those losses pretty hard, like in that sense, because I lost part of my childhood was wrapped up in their music and the things that they did, and that's so it was huge losses for people of our age and our generation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Good God. I remember the day that Michael passed.
Yeah. Poor Farrah Fawcett, she also passed that
the
day.
Same day. The matter of fact, that day was not to make light of anyone passing, but it was triple crown. Triple crown that day was Ed McMahon.
Did he pass that day also?
Yes, sir. It was Ed McMahon because I heard about Ed McMahon that morning. Okay. I heard about Farrah Fawcett later on in the day.
Yeah.
It was actually the day before I met my wife.
Really?
I used to have an annual celebration. I used to call it the Grown and Sexy Birthday Bash.
Okay.
The Grown and Sexy Birthday Bash, and I would pick my most hopping spot that year and do a show there.
Okay.
And I always knew I would get hammered, and so I rented a hotel across the street. Mm-hmm. I was checking in the hotel because I lived a good 40 minutes from the bar I was working, so I got a hotel across the street. And I'm checking in the hotel, and my phone rings, and my cousin says, "Hey, man, did you hear anything about Michael Jackson dying?" Now, mind you, smartphones, I mean, we had Blackberries, but they weren't as smart as the iPhones and stuff now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was like, I haven't heard anything. And he's like, "Hey, man, so turn the TV on. Like, it's all over CNN."
Right.
And I turned the TV on, and this is to tell you how quick technology has flipped, because that was 13 years ago. This coming June,
right?
The hotel still had bubble TVs then.
Oh yeah,
the like tube TVs.
Yeah, the screen TVs.
I turned the TV on. I turned the TV on, and of course I got to find the card to find what channel CNN. I turned to CNN, and I saw right when I turned it on, it's like the commentator's like, "As you can see there, LaToya Jackson running away from Cedars-Sinai. Oh, wow. We are here on reports that Michael Jackson has passed away." And I'm like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" Like, and I was like, "How the hell am I supposed to get my mind up to be the party host for the night,
right,
when Michael has passed?" Yeah. And I mean, we got through it. We got through it. And that night, matter of fact, that night I was doing I was planning on performing. I actually performed. I played I played Angry Young Man. I played the prelude to Angry Young Man, and I did Purple Rain that night.
Oh, okay.
I did Purple Rain that night. Now Michael hadn't died, but I did Purple Rain that night. Those are 2 big songs I did. But it took some getting into, because Michael had passed. And then Whitney, God, that one hurt. That one hurt too. Mike, I was in a funk after Mike passed for a long time. Just from a DJ point, because it was hard for me to go someplace and play music and not want to play Michael Jackson.
Sure.
The one guy, the club owner, came over and said, "Dude, that's like the 5th Michael Jackson song in like an hour. we get it. We miss him too. We get it. We miss him too." And then when Whitney passed, we had all the people coming to karaoke and singing Whitney. Sure. But Prince, I think the two that got me the hardest were Prince and Michael, because those two were kind of just other level, otherworldly. It's like you were like Michael was the one that you expect to live to see 99, like Betty White. Prince also,
right?
And but yeah, so I don't. Where was I when I found out Prince had passed? I was leaving to go to work. I was leaving to go to work. I got in the car and turned on the radio, and yes, we were hearing reports that Prince, the artist formerly known as his Royal Purpleness, and they rattled off all his titles. Has passed away. We don't have any details yet, but yeah, you're right. Three of the heavy hitters, because Janet didn't have her moment really until, Control put her on the map, and but Rhythm Nation was the one that
really put her.
Rhythm Nation planted her stake.
Yeah, very true.
So we didn't mean to get off the beaten path, guys. Talking about we were talking about Purple
Rain.
It
happens.
You can't talk about a musical film without bringing other. Especially
You're talking to two music and movie guys, so we apologize. But
we could do that. One day you might tune in to hear something about weird science, and then we do 10-minute dissertation on Oingo Boingo. Who knows? Exactly,
because it's a dead man's party. Who could have? See, I can only sing a few seconds of the song, so we don't have copyright infringement there.
Right. So if you are just happening to join us, you joined us a little late, but welcome to what is the part of the show where we're kind of winding things down.
Yeah,
we've been talking about the crown jewel in Prince's legacy with Purple Rain.
Yes.
And the beautiful thing about it, I think, is how a lot of people they have that thing. They get to Prince's level, but they have that thing that put them on that level.
Yes.
And then after a certain point of time, they just get tired of it. Prince never got tired of it, ever.
No.
He loved to perform. He loved being on stage. I've seen different film of him doing, never a full film, but I've seen film of him on stage. He loved, on stage was where he was, that was his haven.
For sure.
And he embraced it and he loved it more than anything in the world, I think. And so grateful that we were able to have him in our lives for what we consider a short period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So Purple Rain, if you have not seen it, released by Warner Brothers, July 1984, July 27th specifically. The movie wound up making overall $70.3 million against a $7.2 million budget. So I'd say it was not only commercially, not only a big
it's 10 times what it was made for. Exactly.
Yeah. It made 10 times, 1,000% profit. I think is what that is.
Why not? Yeah.
You made 1,000% profit on the film. Plus, it's one of the most beloved films.
And one of the best-selling soundtracks of all time. So
yeah.
You've done well, Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Well, they did okay until they had him around there painting a sign to change his name to a
slave on his side of his face, right?
Right.
That's another story for another time.
That is, yes, another time. Wow, this actually turned into our Black history. This turned into our Black history.
We got all kind of right. Hey, we like to educate people as well while we're doing this, right? Come on.
Yeah, but it's supposedly the symbol that he changed his name to. It has some ties into hieroglyphics.
Yeah,
and the symbol supposedly translated into English was "Son of the King." I don't have anything to verify that, but supposedly it means "Son of the King."
Son of the King. All right.
And the Son of the King is what?
The Prince. My name is Prince, and I am funky. No, yeah, exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Popcorn and Parachute Pants. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Right now, we're strictly on YouTube and Facebook, but we will be branching out soon, so stay tuned. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please give us a like and give it a share. And tell your friends about these two crazy middle-aged guys, great middle-aged guys talking about these old movies. What do you mean there was a movie about a guy, a purple dude in the rain? What is that about? I seen the African movie. That's what I did. I typed it in Google, and that's what came up, and I didn't think it was good. There's actually a real one? I'm going to have to check that out. So thank you for checking us out and giving us a little bit of your time today. We will be back next week with episode 4 of Popcorn and Parachute Pants. So on behalf of myself and my illustrious and very, very knowledgeable co-host, Mr. Nicholas Rosario, we appreciate you, and we will see you again soon. You guys take care.
Have a great week, everyone. Yes.
Say hello to my little friend. Check the topic.
Be sure to like and subscribe for content and more
on your new home for podcasts and independent music
on the Zagniv One Radio Network.